Welcome back. I am RJB, and this is my YouTube TV Starcraft channel where I cast fastest map replays on either the space map or the Korean super map. This time around, it's on the super map, and we have ourselves some HamburgerSasu, who's playing here, the blue Protoss, on the middle right of the map. And he's right north of Voss, and Voss, as some might already know, is also known as the user JH in the Starcraft World 1 vs 1 League. He's won a couple of seasons there, so that means he's a pretty damn good 1 vs 1 player on fastest map. And he's actually in his best matchup here, I would say. He's a specialized Terran versus Protoss player. It's the one matchup he's played the most. And he's got the most experience in, and which he's honestly a really good player at. Starts off, of course, with 9 barracks. The 8-10 barracks, more precisely, in the 9-10 depot. And his opponent, HamburgerSasu, of course, one of the most all-round fastest map players. He's amazing in 3 vs 3. Absolutely amazing in 2 vs 2. With all races, honestly. He's really amazing in all races. And he's amazing on Protoss in 1 vs 1 as well. Most players, of course, are. But I find his Protoss to be just a couple notches above most others. There might even only be about 4 or 5, maybe 6 players. Maybe, well, I'd say 4 or 5, honestly. 4 or 5 Protoss players on fastest map who have a better Protoss on fastest map than HamburgerSasu does. But HamburgerSasu here is cutting himself a little bit too... He's flying a little bit too close to the sun here. Because those 2 cannons are going to be taking some damage from that SCV. The probes, of course, are scaring the SCV away, but the Marine is already on the way, ready to assist the SCV. The probes are being scared away. The cannon, though, will come up, but it's going to take a little bit more damage. So HamburgerSasu is pulling over more probes just to ensure that he can take down that the Marine. But the Marine got microed quite well up until this point. Manages to take down 2 probes, almost gets a 3rd one. But the cannon in the end does come up. But that's a little bit of lost mining time he's had there, so he has been slowed down quite a bit. But he's aiming to catch up with this +1 Nexus that allows him to get more probes out quicker than Voss gets his SCVs out. Voss, of course, knowing that HamburgerSasu does not have any offensive ability at the moment. He does have 1 Zealot coming out, which can fight against those 3 Marines, but that will be a very close fight. Voss knows that HamburgerSasu has probably 1 gateway, or no gateway units whatsoever. Zealot goes scouting. Anyway, the knowledge that HamburgerSasu has 1 gateway opens up the opportunity for Voss to add on that very early command center and to discontinue Marine production. Eventually, this Zealot, of course, does get taken down. It might get HamburgerSasu some information, but it's going to find its end here in the corner. There it goes. It dies before it really gets any information on what Voss already has and what Voss is doing. Of course, HamburgerSasu knows that Voss has 3 barracks. Right, this one is going to get some information because that one is going to make it through. And he's going to see at least this one command center here that's being added on. Factory already being added on for Voss really early into the match. That spells some trouble for HamburgerSasu. So yeah, HamburgerSasu has all the information he needs. Voss does not. There is the robotic facility coming out for HamburgerSasu quite early. He already has a Citadel of the Dune. Citadel of the Dune coming out before the robotic facility means that he's going for a Templar's Archive, which makes me believe he's going for Dark Templars, most likely. Otherwise, we'd probably be seeing a 2nd robotic facility, and there's no 2nd robotic facility out yet. But we can still make one with this probe here, because he is saving up some of his gas. But I assume it's going to be Dark Templars. Of course, this gateway here in the front makes it harder for all the Marines to line up perfectly and fire on the cannons. But the gateway can get taken down by these Marines just outside of the cannon range. But he does have 4 cannons there in the back, so he will be fine if Voss does decide to attack. Because those Marines, I don't think they can fight into 4 cannons lined up like this. They can all fire on Marines at the same time. So the Marines are just there to be annoying. Dark Templars, as I mentioned, are already on the way. He's not yet researching Psionic Storm. He's just banking on those Dark Templars to deal a significant amount of damage to Voss. It is kind of a gamble because he's gambling on Voss not having turrets out inside of his base. And at the moment, though, that gamble might be working out because there's only a turret right here at the command center. The turret being made there at the side, turret being made there in the front, but the Dark Templars have already finished. It's going to be a race against the clock for these to finish up. The upside is, though, if he does land here, he can take down that turret before the Marines arrive on the scene. But he does have 2 scans, and the second scan is almost finished, first scan is already finished. He's going in trying to kill some of those Marines, but the scan comes out here. This means this Dark Templar is dead. The other Dark Templar has been spotted, gets spotted again by another turret, and they are both dead. So I was wrong on that one. Dark Templars wind up not dealing anything whatsoever. They wind up being more or less just completely wasted resources. The HamburgerSasu could probably have better spent at someone else. But he's going to keep trying. He's just making more and more Dark Templars. He's going to try to fish for... I mean, not fish, but look for an opening that he can abuse. And there's a wide open area here on the side that has no turrets whatsoever. Voss does have a scan, but the second scan takes a little while longer because it only has 30 energy. So HamburgerSasu might be capable of dealing a little bit of damage with those Dark Templars here on the side. They're getting unloaded. He's keeping 2 more inside the shuttle. Doesn't want to risk losing all of them at the same time. He wants to take down that turret first. Now he unloads 2 more. Second turret is going to go down before... Oh, he just kills the SCV instead. He splits them up. Real great choice there. We'll keep some of them alive. Those Dark Templars on the bottom there staying alive. But the second scan is close to finishing. But he's focused on the Dark Templar there. Actually, his attention being split on 2 separate locations. And he's not using the scan just yet. He's saving his energy for no real reason whatsoever. Because he can use the scan and kill all those Dark Templars there on the bottom side. He's deciding against it. There he goes. He scans it. Dark Templar eventually does go down. But now more Dark Templars are being dropped here on the top side. It looks like HamburgerSasu is managing to get some mileage on the Dark Templar strategy, which I honestly did not expect. He's even adding on more Dark Templars. He's just going against all common sense, and he's planning on winning this with just Dark Templars. Which, if he manages to do it, that's stupidly amazing. That you can just win with just Dark Templars in this manner. Though I do have to admit, Voss somewhat mishandled the situation a tiny bit. Alright, so he's got more Dark Templars on the way, ready to be dropped over the hill. He's got 3 Reavers finished up, and he's making shuttles, trying to get, so he can get them into the base. He has been distracting Voss quite a bit with those Dark Templars, but I'm not sure if it's enough. Another depot there goes down, but Voss is not anywhere close to being supply stuck. Alright, he sees these turrets, so he decides to not go in yet. Tank drop is flying in towards the hill. Looks like Voss is planning on camping and using the hill to push himself slowly closer towards the probes there. He unloads the tanks. Tanks are within range of the probes. Is this going to be a kill shot? Not a kill shot. Doesn't get all too much done with the tank drop there. It does force HamburgerSasu to pull his probes off his minerals for quite a bit of time. But no probes wound up going down. Which now gives us... Alright, so he's using them for vision. They're on the side. Smart choice, because they're invisible. And honestly, I think he recognized that he couldn't really do anything anymore with those Dark Templars inside of Voss's base. So instead he's just going for a safer option and uses them as a means of obtaining vision on the side. And HamburgerSasu is taking his sweet time here before he decides to go. Sometimes taking your sweet time to go is worth it, because sometimes having the right setup beats frequency of attack. Quality over quantity, so to speak. And HamburgerSasu sometimes goes for quantity. This time he's going for quality. Looks like this tank drop might get a hit on those probes. Probes getting pulled away, but not in time. He kills 40? 40 probes went down there? 40 probes? Are you kidding me? That's way more than I expected to be going down there. And that's absolutely disastrous for HamburgerSasu. Because now he has to hit something really big with this next drop. He does have a lot of Archons, Reavers, Zealots in there. But Voss has a lot of Marines all around his base. No tanks. There's no tanks, surprisingly. Not a single tank. So Voss is going to have to intercept those shuttles with his Marines. And HamburgerSasu is unloading. He unloads massively. Actually gets a great couple of shots off. But this is not going to cut it. This is not going to cut it, I want to say. But those Zealots are cleaning up those Marines rather quick. But eventually, all the units there do go down. And not a single SCV got hit there. Not a single SCV got hit there. So that means that Voss is absolutely fine. And HamburgerSasu has been slowed down so significantly by losing all those probes there. By that really cheeky tank drop here on the side by Voss. And yeah, this game is looking really dire now for HamburgerSasu. I didn't expect HamburgerSasu to take such a huge hit on his Protoss. But continuously trying to spam out tank drops can really turn the game into your favor. Because instead of just waiting for the Protoss to hit your minerals, you can try to flip the tables on them and hit their minerals instead. And quite often, a lot of Protoss players will not cover all the options that a Terran has with tank drops. They will not cover them adequately. Like as we can see here, he's not covered his probes adequately. And another huge hit. 12 probes left. Are you kidding me? Voss, you're being absolutely disgusting. He's not even calling the GG. Voss just knows that he absolutely... yeah, that's just great. That's just great tank drop play there from Voss. He doesn't even have to be very aggressive. He just has to turtle it out. Survive the aggression from HamburgerSasu, which in my honest opinion, those Dark Templars, they did a little bit more damage than I expected. But it was an absolute waste of minerals. So often you will see people go for those Dark Templars, and more often than not, it will be an absolute failure compared to what they could have done with Reavers and just High Templars or with Zealots. Like mass Zealot drops. Like the options beside Dark Templars, I think are way better than Dark Templars itself. And as we saw right here, the Dark Templar abuse did leave a couple of scratches on Voss's surface, but they could never really do any real damage to his economy, to his unit count, to his buildings, to his turrets on the side. It was never too much to handle for Voss. Instead, it gave Voss a lot of time to just build up and pull off his tank drops, which HamburgerSasu did have cannons for, but if you're smart like Voss, you just look for a spot where there are less cannons, and you try to hit the probes from that spot where there are less cannons. You can at least get one shot off with two tanks. Like one of the two tanks will most of the time die before you can get a shot off, but there are most of the time one of the two tanks will stay alive if you're quick enough, as we saw what happened here. So yeah, it's time to go for there's game number 2, because there's a game number 2. There's also a game number 3. This is a best of 3. There are 3 replays, which kind of spells who's going to win the next one, right? Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's a best of 5 and someone wins 3 games in a row. I don't know. But let's go into game number 2. So for game number 2, we have HamburgerSasu playing the Terran instead of playing the Protoss. And honestly, I prefer seeing HamburgerSasu's Terran because it's a little bit more exciting than watching Protoss, although his Protoss can at times be very exciting to watch. I just love watching his Terran in particular, because his Terran is already unique in terms of cockiness, although Voss, of course, now being the most cocky person you can possibly imagine, by returning the favor that HamburgerSasu usually throws his opponents right back at him. Most of the times, HamburgerSasu is the person spamming the chat with minor banter and BM. But this time around, Voss is returning the favor. He's the one BMing, he's the one having fun, he's the one toying around with his opponent. Although I'm not sure if he should be doing that prematurely, because this series is not yet over. This is only game number 2. And HamburgerSasu is one of those few players who's capable of striking back harder than you have stricken at him. But regardless of that, JH starts off with what appears to be the more orthodox, or one of the more orthodox Protoss openings. So I like to think of the more orthodox Protoss openings is +1 Nexus, or the 2 gateways into a +1 Nexus. And he's evidently going for the 2 gateway into a +1 Nexus. Or you can call it a 13 Nexus build, 14 Nexus build. Oh, usually you don't make the Zealots before the +1 Nexus. But he mixed up the timing of his gateways by a little bit. He either made this gateway too early, which messed up the timing of the +1 Nexus, because now he's going for +2 Zealots before going for the +1 Nexus. But usually you get the +1 Nexus and then the 2 Zealots, so the Nexus is delayed, but I don't think it will wind up hurting him all too much. Other than that, it might delay his tech by about 30 to 40 seconds, in the sense of being able to use his tech to be aggressive and attack his opponent. But at least he does have his Zealots out now to defend his choke with. He does have a Forge on the way, but it's only just been started. Marines are there to fight against the Zealots are there to fight against the Marines and try to prevent HamburgerSasu from getting information. But HamburgerSasu, of course, seeing this pylon, seeing the Zealot count, already knows the exact build that JH is on. The gas is now being added on. There is no probe there being moved to the front to start the cannons, which should be about the time he has to start the cannons. But maybe he wants his cybernetics core up first. HamburgerSasu, of course, on 3 barracks. Discontinues marine production for that command center, then recontinues marine production. Zealots there in the front. He's waiting for more Zealots to come and group up so he can try and start a fight with those Marines. The Zealot count and the Marine count should be about equal in combat ability, because of course Marines can be microed a little bit better than Zealots can. Zealots are kind of straightforward. Marines can kite backwards like this. Kiting backwards, he gets cut out a little bit, but none of the Marines have died yet. He has lost some HP in his Marines, but the fight is not yet over. And eventually the Zealots do get somewhat in between the Marines, but there's too many Marines for those Zealots to fight into. And the Marines are microed back really nicely, and there, right, it is. Right there. Zealot now just buying time. A lot of those Marines are still alive, but he did kill quite a bit of them. A worthy trade for Protoss, in my opinion. Purely because this kills offensive ability for the Terran. And as the Protoss, you honestly don't need those Zealots for anything else later on in the game. You can just throw them out, kill Marines, keep the Marines busy, keep making more Zealots, keep the Marines busy, because your real goal is going for Reavers. Although honestly, as I've said earlier, it looks like Voss has messed up somewhere, because the build honestly looks different. Or he's not going for... I'm a little bit puzzled. Because he's going for Dragoon range. He's not making a robotics. There's the robotics. But the Dragoon range is throwing me off because he's on 2 gateways, not 3 gateways. Usually the Protoss would have to be on 3 gateways already to make the Dragoons work. But right here he's going for +3 gateways in addition to his 2 gateways for 5 gateways in total. Rather late. I guess Dragoon range will have finished quite soon. But you will only have 2 Dragoons. And the other Dragoons are going to take a while to ramp up. And HamburgerSasu will have his choke all up and ready. He will probably have his siege tank finished as well. So HamburgerSasu should be completely fine here. I don't think this is the setup that Voss should have been looking for. Because he does have a lot of gas income. He does have a lot of probes. His mineral income is somewhat high because he's got about 27 probes mining minerals. But everything seems to be delayed by quite a bit by this choice to go for Dragoon range and Dragoons. I personally prefer to see the robotics facility into a citadel of a dune into a robotics facility, and then have the Protoss make just zealots and go for double reaver after a single shuttle. And then you get zealot speed, and you go for a frontal attack with the reaver zealot combination. Because right now these Dragoons are out way too late. As you can see here, they're not doing much. He's gonna try to fly those Dragoons in, but once again, even if those Dragoons do get into the base, they're not going to achieve all that much. Or he might land them on the hills and kill those turrets here on the side, which seems more likely. There it goes, turret on the side. It's gonna kill the turret there. I mean, Dragoon on the side, gonna kill the turret. So he is trying to make some use of it. He is getting some use out of those Dragoons. So maybe I called my displacement a little bit too early. But as you can see here, Dragoon is already in the process of going down. Got moved backwards a little bit. But as long as the Dragoon keeps firing on the Marines, HamburgerSasu gets vision of those Dragoons, you can see here. So the Dragoon does go down eventually, has distracted him a little bit, has drawn units away from the front, and he's still going for the double reaver frontal attack, but it's been delayed by at least 30 seconds as to what it could have been, which means that now the tank is out there in the back, but the tank is sieged up a little bit too close. The tank is sieged up really close here, which means that the tank is rather exposed to the reavers there. If Reavers can get a shot off on the tank, this will end up being a disaster for HamburgerSasu, but instead, HamburgerSasu holds it pretty well because Voss either did not have Scarabs queued up and couldn't attack the tank there in the back, but I saw that going very differently in my mind than what ended up happening. Of course, great move by HamburgerSasu to unload his Marines, stim them, and put them back in the bunker so that they deal increased stim damage from inside the bunker. That's a really great move there from HamburgerSasu that might have actually turned the situation around in his favor. Reaver now unloaded on the low ground is going to clear out these turrets here on the southern side of HamburgerSasu's base. And yeah, he cleans up pretty much just 2 turrets, a couple of Marines, not much happens. On the drop comes in from the top side. Reaver is very close to the SCVs, but the Reaver goes down before he can get a shot off on the SCVs. SCVs staying alive and staying safe. It didn't get pulled off, so if he had gotten off a shot on those SCVs, it could have been game over for HamburgerSasu, because he's got most of his SCVs on this side, I assume. Though he does have them rallied to here, so more might be on this side. Anyway, he would have lost a lot of SCVs there. Another drop coming in from the northern side. Still no turrets being made here in this portion. Turrets have been made there in that portion. Tank drop coming in. He kills... No probes. All JH's probes stay alive. Very close call. Very close call. He's spamming out shuttles really quickly. There comes the drop. Comes in. And drop does not reach the SCVs. Templar didn't even get a storm off. It did try to. You could see the animation start, but it didn't get off. Now shuttle comes in from the bottom side. Storm comes down on the SCVs. He kills about 5 of them. But once again, nothing to worry about. Bunkers in the front being repaired. Another bunker has been made. One of the bunkers died, has been replaced. Tanks are slowly streaming out and being added on to the defenses. Drops are still coming in from the sides. This time he's once again trying to go in from 2 sides at the same time. There's no Corsair to assist the shuttles. So it's going to be a little bit hard for him to reach the SCV line. But there, actually, as I'm saying that, one of those shuttles does reach destination, but the Templar does not unload. And no storm comes down. Another one gets taken down there on the bottom side, and HamburgerSasu seems to be completely fine. I'd say this is about time that he has to add Corsairs to his shuttle drops. But, as you can see, he's got Corsairs added into the mix. So which should make it a little bit easier for his shuttles to arrive on destination. He's now walling off his front as well with an engine bay, but the Dragoon prevents that from happening. HamburgerSasu very slowly adding to his base. The supply count is rising steadily. JH once again landing Dragoons there on the hill, trying to clear out whatever is there on the low ground by using a high ground advantage. But looks like the Dragoons are not going to be achieving all that much, aside from getting a couple of Marine kills. This is what we should be looking at. So we cleared out a couple of stuff here on the top side, but not that much. Goes in with 2 shuttles. Shuttles get ignored. HamburgerSasu is not paying attention this time around. Templar's landing on the low ground. Templar gets a storm off. Templar kills only about 4. Only about 4 SCVs going down there. HamburgerSasu pull his SCVs off the minerals just in time. JH is lagging behind by a tiny bit of where he should be. But mostly because he hasn't really been capable of landing any significant blows on HamburgerSasu. Pretty much everything he's tried so far has failed, and HamburgerSasu is already sending his units in to kill this here on the low ground. Those tanks there are located very well, because he's got this entire portion of his base covered there. So anything that gets dropped inside this region is already taking tank damage the moment it is unloaded. And all HamburgerSasu has to do then is send his marines in with the stim upgrade. And yeah, units go down very quickly. And HamburgerSasu is defending himself really well. Very steadily adding onto his base. Of course, placing some medics here at your SCVs is very smart, because your SCVs will gradually take more storm damage. So always keep some medics there to keep repairing or keep healing those SCVs. Once again, drop comes down on the top side here, but this time he's got Reavers in the mix, which means that those tanks go down very quickly, which means that those Marines are forced to pull back, which means that now HamburgerSasu has to pull up some of his tanks to the top side there to take down those Reavers, but the Reavers already firing on the tanks there. Reavers do go down, Reavers killing a couple of those Marines still, but eventually HamburgerSasu defends himself really well. The Mother Drop is already flying in over the northern side there. He's aiming, of course, for the workers, but the shuttles don't get intercepted. He unloads the Templar, but the Templar gets taken down before it can storm. More shuttles coming in, but shuttles get taken down. Really great play from HamburgerSasu there. Target firing on the shuttles. And Voss is honestly falling short every single time he tries to go in. He hasn't had any success whatsoever. And I think most of that can be redirected back to his choice to go for those Dragoons very early on into the game, and giving HamburgerSasu an extra minute of time before getting hit by the very first attack that Voss threw at him. And as you can see here, HamburgerSasu recognizes his opportunity, recognizes that he can go aggressive, and at 13 minutes into the game, he just goes full on onto the counterattack, but a drop is happening here inside of HamburgerSasu's base. Will this shuttle reach destination? Templar gets unloaded on the low ground. Templar doesn't get a storm off. There's no other Templar there in the mix, which now means that this push here from HamburgerSasu is going to be the decider of the game. Can Voss go for the counterattack, or will Voss get pushed in and get strangled out by HamburgerSasu? He does have a couple of carriers here on the way, but he doesn't have his carrier capacity upgrade finished yet. And most of his units are dying before he can even use them, really, because he still has them rallied here to the front, which means that they get sent into the tank damage right away. Another drop being sent out, which might be his last saving grace if he does manage to land a hit on those SCVs. Although HamburgerSasu does have 3,500 minerals, and he's got plenty of production facilities. He's got plenty of units here inside of JH's base. And JH is honestly, yeah, he's dead. HamburgerSasu knows it. He's spamming it out. Right at the same time as I mentioned it, he's spamming it out. He knows he's dead. He's not even going to dodge the storm drop here. The storm drop comes down. The storm drop actually does get dodged, but nothing of significance dies. A single medic died. 2 medics died. But that's not important at all. What is important is the fight here happening in the front of JH's base, where HamburgerSasu is knocking on the front door, taking down whatever was here in the front. Robotic facilities, gateways, cannons, it's all going down. The carriers are trying valiantly to fight this off, but there's so many Marines there on the low ground with upgrades against carriers that are currently, honestly, lacking interceptors, because the interceptor capacity upgrade only just now finished. It means that HamburgerSasu gets plenty of time to throw up more of those turrets, which at this stage in the game are absolutely lethal against those interceptors, because those interceptors don't have armor upgrades yet. They don't have that many shield upgrades yet. It means they're going down very quickly. And all those Marines, of course, with the stim upgrade, take down those interceptors so damn quick. There's a drop here on the bottom side, but I don't think this one is going to make a single bit of difference, because the balls are inert. They coming in, they both get taken down. Templar's on the low ground. Templar try to storm. Templar gets a great storm off, but is already too damn late. Because look at this mass here inside of JH's base. Oh, he's never going to be saving face. This man, in this race, he gets second place. Yeah, Goliaths coming in. Goliaths, of course, have their range upgrades, have their 1-1-1 upgrades as well. Marines on the low ground have 1-2. And here we have 2 armor upgrade for the air, but no weapon, no shield. And JH calls the end, leaves the game, doesn't call the GG. HamburgerSasu wins number 2. And that means we are free to go to game number 3. And yeah, I mean, this is what I like about HamburgerSasu's play. Like, he doesn't camp it out until the end. A lot of these Korean players will camp it out in the Terran versus Protoss, and they will camp until 16 or 17 or maybe 25 minutes and just keep sitting in their base until they are completely satisfied with the amount of barracks, with the amount of factories, with the amount of depots, with the amount of armories, with the amount of turrets, with the amount of gas that they have. But HamburgerSasu here only on 4 gas, about 10 factories and about 5 barracks, decides to just go for the offensive move. He just decides to, hey, wait a second, I'm pretty big, I'm maxed out, I might as well just go out and move in. And go for a killing blow. And it worked. If you can be decisive and move out very quickly and recognize the opportunity to just go for the counterattack. We saw it happen with Lucky Back a while ago as well. Lucky Back against Trisha, where Lucky Back also went for a very decisive counter push, where he was just like, hey, I'm big, I can go. And he went for it, and it worked. And same thing happened here. Voss, or JH, was not prepared for the counter. HamburgerSasu, using his scans, got himself the information that he needed to come to the conclusion, hey, I can go in, I'm just going to go in, I'm going to kill him. And it worked. And just look at the beautiful sight that we have before us of all those Marines. All those SCVs. And I'm going to make a quick screenshot for the thumbnail. Alright, so let's go for game number 3, which I hope will showcase Voss in a little bit of a better light. Because in this game, honestly, everything just fell flat and failed. So, thus, JH, also known as Voss, which is actually supposed to be Boss, but he misspelled it and went for Voss instead of Boss. Just something I recently learned. It's supposed to be Boss, not Voss. Anyway, regardless of that little fact, does Voss, who's now playing the Red Protoss here on the bottom left of the map, get a chance to redeem himself? Because honestly, most of the times when he is Protoss, he doesn't have the strongest showing. At least not against these top level players. He never had. Sometimes he does have a really good showing on Protoss. But most of the time he falls flat with Protoss because he goes for somewhat questionable attack patterns that specifically the top Koreans are very, very good against. Or maybe his attack patterns and unit choices and timings become questionable because his opponents, who are so good, are very good at adjusting to what Voss is throwing at them. So maybe Voss should sometimes look a little bit closer at what his opponents are doing when they play Protoss and when they beat him, and perhaps copy that a little bit more. But who am I? I mean, I'm not as good as he is, so maybe I'm just talking bullshit here. But that's just my opinion. Just my opinion. Take it with a grain of salt. But regardless of that, HamburgerSasu on the Zerg, as you might have already noticed with the Overlord, he gets scouted out very early. Voss even went for 2 gateways into a forge. No nexus. He's pulling probes over to the front here, which means, of course, that he's going very aggressive. 2 zealots are on the way. One of them almost finished because he went for a 7-9 pylon, which means you can only make a single gateway right after the pylon finishes, and the second one follows up. The 3 probes are in the front and a single zealot on the way. He's going to try to deny those drones from going down to make creep colonies, but he is in fact too late. Creep colony does come down. But he's got a cannon on the way. He's got 3 probes there in the mix. He's denying this drone from going down, from making a creep colony, but this one already went down. Now the zealot has to start hitting this creep colony, but it's already failed, honestly, because there we have... Wait, no. He's got the cannon. Cannon is going to kill a couple of those zerglings. Sunken, yes, finished, which, yeah, honestly, it means it's already worked. I mean, the defense has already worked, and the offensive move that JH tried to throw out here at HamburgerSasu has failed. Honestly, if he had gone for 2 gateways at the same time, it might have worked, because then he'd have 2 zealots on at the scene at the same time. But he only had a single one at the scene, and I don't think that was enough for it to work. So HamburgerSasu now immediately going on the counterattack with those 4 zerglings. Zealot is moving back to base. HamburgerSasu, if he can force those probes to be pulled off the minerals, he can slow down Voss just enough to start building an economic lead inside of his own base. There he gets a couple of probe kills. Not that many, but considering the fact that Voss already pulled 4 probes into the fight there at the front of HamburgerSasu's base, he has already been slowed down. So in total, he might have lost 7 or 6 probes, which hurts a lot, specifically in this stage of the game. As we can see, only has 10. He only has 10 probes on his minerals. Whereas most of the time at this point into the game, he would be on 20 probes in total. So his income has been slowed down quite significantly. In addition to that, he went for a very early assimilator, which means that he's got even 3 less probes mining minerals. Because of that, now he's got 6 probes less mining minerals. He's got 6 probes on the gas, so his economy is very, very slow here. Whereas HamburgerSasu basically did not get slowed down whatsoever. Do note though that HamburgerSasu went for a very late hatchery because he wanted to defend himself and get more sunkens up early. So actually both players got slowed down a little bit, but Voss got slowed down more. And usually players go for a +1 Nexus in a Protoss versus Zerg within the Korean 1 vs 1 fastest scene. But here Voss does not have a +1 Nexus, so there is no real opportunity to bounce back. Whereas, of course, HamburgerSasu having hatcheries can start making a lot of drones very quickly, very easily. Both the robotic facilities get scouted out by HamburgerSasu. He's got zealots there, but the fact that HamburgerSasu knows that those robotic facilities have started warping in and have finished means HamburgerSasu knows he's got to start his den, because he needs that den to defend against anything that's being shuttled over. The den is a little bit late in comparison to the finishing time of this shuttle. That shuttle will finish about the same time as this Hylos den is finished, which means that 4 zealots will fly into HamburgerSasu's base before HamburgerSasu has any units that can realistically defend against those 4 zealots. Shuttle almost finished. Hylos have been queued up. JH has to be very quick here. He has to be very quick with loading those zealots up and flying them over. If he takes too much time, yeah, he's taking a little bit too much time. Sometimes just 4 seconds or 5 seconds can make a huge difference. And actually, it turns out I was wrong, and it looks like the Hylos finished exactly on time. Exactly on time. And that just goes to show the amount of knowledge HamburgerSasu has. He even has Sunkens finishing up right on time. But this goes to show the amount of knowledge HamburgerSasu has in his ability to get the things out at the right exact timing. Even though fastest map is often such a fluid game mode compared to regular maps where things are way more shoehorned in terms of timing and what the opponent can do. On fastest map, you have way more options in what you can realistically do with your units, what you can realistically do with your build order, because the income is so high that it is, in that sense, much more forgiving. But also much more punishing. So the 2 Weavers do wind up landing beyond the hill. And he's gonna have to pick them up and fly that shuttle out of the scene. Shuttle loses a lot of HP, but shuttle stays alive. More Reavers are on the way. Shuttle's queued up as well. Adding on gateways now. Adding on a Nexus, so he's finally getting that extra probe production that he so desperately needs. But there, the Reavers... He splits up the Hydralisk really well. So that's a great move from HamburgerSasu there. Prevents himself from losing too many of his Hydralisks, which means that he will have enough units to defend his base, but most specifically his drones with. On the next drop that's going to be coming in from JH, he sees the shuttle with the Overlord. He's there to intercept it. The shuttle having so little HP would make this very easy to defend. But yeah, it looks like Voss cannot find a way in, because those Overlords hanging there up on the hill are giving HamburgerSasu all the vision he needs to defend against this. As you can see here, he's got quite a bit of vision there over the hill. Gives him quite a bit of reaction time. Although Voss here finds a nice little gap. Yeah, he does get surrounded by the Hydralisks. The Hydralisks, Reaver gets picked up. He picked up only a single Reaver. Zealot's still chasing those Hydralisks around. But more importantly, HamburgerSasu's economy is absolutely massive at this point. He even has a bit of overmind. He's got 39 drones in total, of which 6 are on the gas. Now lands more units on the lower ground here. Zealots and Reavers. He's going in for the attack on the drones. Reaver gets unloaded, but Reaver does not get a shut off on those drones. It's absolutely massive. If he had gotten the shut off, that could have been really painful for HamburgerSasu, but HamburgerSasu manages to save himself a lot of pain, a lot of hurt, just in the nick of time. The only downside is, of course, HamburgerSasu is still only on 4 hatcheries, which means that Voss has honestly been doing a really amazing job at keeping the pressure up on HamburgerSasu. His choke is still at about the same size as it was about 5 or 4 minutes ago, but considering Voss has been focusing mostly on just side attacks here, he doesn't need that big a choke just yet. He can rely on just those Hydralisks. Of course, Hydralisks force those shuttles to redirect somewhere else. He starts unloading, but the shuttle gets taken down before anything of significance gets unloaded. He's flying the shuttle around. Will it find a way in? He's going for the frontal attack instead. About time to start taking down these Sunkens here in the front. The Egg here is blocking those Hydralisks from getting through. So he cancels it. Really smart. And he scares the Reaver away. So we've got a Templar's Archive on the way for Voss. Finally. He's managed to catch up in probe count thanks to the +1 Nexus that he added on quite late, but just in time. So 47 probes now. HamburgerSasu has been focusing on making just Hydralisks for the last minute or two. So his probe count, his drone count has stagnated, but his income is completely fine. Slowly adding onto his base. Finally has a lair on the way as well. He's got a total of 7 hatcheries added on to the one in the front and his main. Frontal attack now happening from Voss. Speed Zealot timed attack with the Reavers. Double Reavers there firing away on the Sunkens. Sunkens have not been spread out, which means that the Reaver AoE is taking those Sunkens down quicker if they were spaced out a little bit. But eventually, of course, he's got too many Hydralisks, which take care of those Zealots really quick. Which means that the Reavers get taken down by just a handful of Hydralisks there. That's a really great micro there from HamburgerSasu. Manages to sneak his way in between those Zealots to get shots on the Reaver. Reaver goes down. Voss still adding onto his base, slowly but surely. 54 probes against 35 drones from HamburgerSasu. HamburgerSasu has not made any drones to add onto his economy in the last 5 minutes. 4 minutes, I mean. He's focused only on Hydralisks. And HamburgerSasu is honestly one of the few players who can very efficiently stay alive with just Hydralisks. He often does not need Lurkers, does not need Guardians, does not need Mutalisks, does not need Scorches to defend himself against whatever the Protoss throws at him, because he's got such good Hydralisk control, such high APM and EAPM that he can move those Hydralisks around very quickly. Although now, I was about to think that Voss had an opening, but HamburgerSasu blocks up the opening really quickly. All thanks to the vision of those overlords there on the side. You can even see the shuttles leaving here over the front. Though it looks like Voss is planning on going for an attack from 2 directions at the same time to make it harder for HamburgerSasu to focus. But HamburgerSasu is vision all over the left side here, the right side. So he sees the shuttles coming in, but he pulls all of his Hydralisks away. He pulls all of the Hydralisks away, which might mean that the setup that Voss is going for might just end up working. He pulled the shuttles away from the front, but HamburgerSasu already redirecting his Hydralisks back to the side, because he's fully aware that Voss is trying to distract with those shuttles. Templars make it towards the scene, and he gets Storm off, and he kills 8 of those drones. But now the shuttles coming from the right side are once again being a threat. HamburgerSasu is forced to respond to. But there's already a drop coming in from the left side as well. This is going to be hard to juggle. He goes in, goes out. He sees that the Hydralisks are still there. Cannot go for the fight. Unloads the Templar on the hill. HamburgerSasu dodges the Storm, but no Storm comes out. Now comes in from the west, the eastern side, but Shuttle gets taken down immediately. HamburgerSasu is still completely fine. Now 47 drones against 74 probes from JH. JH has added on a massive amount of robotic facilities there in the front, of course using them for Reavers. He's got Reaver Scarab upgrade damage finished, I think. He's got Templar Energy on the way. His upgrades are in 101, no shield upgrade for him. Shuttle this time makes its way in, but gets taken down really quickly. And the little bit of vision he had with the shuttle over the hill has forced the Overlord back. Which now means that HamburgerSasu is a little bit of a harder time responding to drops coming from this portion because of the darkness here up on the hill. But Voss is instead going for, once again, a fly around. He's really just trying to get in with those shuttles, but HamburgerSasu's got so many of those Hydralisks spread out everywhere, and he can respond to every single attempt that Voss throws at him. And if this goes on for much longer, I think that HamburgerSasu will become too much and too big to handle. Comes in from the eastern side, both shuttles get target fired and go down before they can even unload a single thing. At the same time, a frontal attack is happening from Voss. He is going to try to tear through those Sunkens. But it's going to be a slow process here because that's a lot of Sunkens here in the front from HamburgerSasu. And HamburgerSasu is very close to maxing out. Now, one of the few things that HamburgerSasu loves doing is going for a hard counter attack where we will just keep stacking up on Hydralisks up until the moment that his opponent attack moves all of his units into all of those Sunkens in an attempt to take them down. Then he goes for the counter. And because HamburgerSasu always hotkeys all of his Hydralisks, he can do that really quickly by just doing 5A move, 6A move, 7A move, 8A move, or 2, 3, 4A move. Whatever works, but this Templar comes in all the way, but he gets a Storm. Oh, he gets a good Storm off, actually. All the drones were right here. He got a Storm off right there. It kills about 12 or 14 of those drones. Hurts, it hurts, but not badly enough. Another shuttle coming in from the eastern side once again. This time he flies right into those Hydralisks and goes down. Yeah, 50 minutes into the game. HamburgerSasu finally has his Great Aspire on the way. He's finished his Hives, got Scorches. He's adding on a third Great Aspire. Drop comes in, drop gets to unload. Drop does not get to Storm whatsoever, and looks like HamburgerSasu didn't even really have to respond to that one. He did send his Scorches into the mix, but didn't dodge with his drones. The front here is very slowly being taken down by those Reavers, but the Reavers are just outside of the range. And it looks like JH is focusing on something else to do. Just filling out his base with gateways. He hasn't made a single Stargate, which is honestly bothering me quite a bit. They didn't go for a single Stargate to assist with the shuttle drops. Storm comes out, Storm hits, Storm misses, Storm hits a tiny amount of drones. But nonetheless, it hurts to lose a couple of those drones there. Also it hurts to lose mining time. Doesn't hurt to get those Zealots walking in. I like this single sunken there. It's for making those zealots trip out because they cannot reach the sunken, but they want to attack the sunken. Drop comes in, and the drop, there comes the storm. Storm misses just by a bit. Well, the storm comes down on nothing at all. JH really has not been having a good time here, and HamburgerSasu has been having... He's been handling this like a boss. He's legit been handling this like a boss. Once again, Templars do get unloaded, but they both die to all the Hydralisks there. The Lurkers there, of course, as well, also helping out. And he's getting his maximum air upgrades with those 3, not 2, but 3 Great Aspires. Upgrades for ground coming in as well, of course. He's already on 1-1. Guardians have just finished. And the game is starting to look very, very bad for Voss here. He did finally add on some Stargates. He's got level 1 armor upgrade. He's got still on 1-0-1 for his ground forces. He has not been upgrading his ground forces at all. Guardian is now going on the move, attacking the cannons there on the side. Templars are on the scene, but Templars are not yet ready to storm. Oh, he does have the energy for it. Attack happening here on the front. Killed a couple of those Sunkens and flew his Reavers in, but the Reavers go down really quick. Not much gets achieved. Looks like Voss is really trying his hardest, but nothing is working. And here starts the first counterattack from HamburgerSasu. It looks like he's just trying to annoy the front there, because he's loading up Overlords instead. Or it looked like he was loading up Overlords. Yeah, Reaper's there on the side. HamburgerSasu is not moving out. He's just sitting for now. Goes in, kills the Reavers. Reavers cleared out a couple of those Sunkens here on the side, but haven't achieved all that much. Reavers get loaded up into the shuttle, but the shuttle is indeed. The shuttle actually stays alive. But eventually there he does unload the Reavers there in the front, and the Reavers go down nonetheless. He's trying to start a contain here at the front, but that's not going to work. He killed the cannons here in the front with those Hydralisks, which now means it's going to be a little bit easier for HamburgerSasu to come in through the front. But HamburgerSasu is trying to come in from the side with those Guardians. He still has all of his Hydralisks located at the same spots they've been located all game on the sides here, defending against those shuttle drops. He's even added in Queens to use Ensnare on those shuttles and Corsairs. Drop comes in. Ensnare misses, actually. Storm comes down. Storm does kill about 20 of those drones, but as long as the majority of those drones stay alive, HamburgerSasu is never going to feel hurt. He's never going to get slowed down. Another batch of Muletists being turned into Guardians. 12 of them. JH is trying his hardest. Storm's coming down on the Guardians. Attack here being sent out in the front. He's going to meet a bunch of Sunkens there with his units. He even storms himself by accident. Storms nothing there by accident as well. Looks like JH is being tilted like quite a bit here. Drop coming in there from the front, but it goes wide, goes down as well. Guardian is now coming in from the side, ready to attack the JH's base here. Drones going down, pylons being in danger of going down as well. Shuttles being loaded up and being positioned here on the side. He's gonna try to go in for one last final attack, but I think it's too late because there's no way that he target fires all the shuttles really quickly. I really like that. I really like that. Great awareness from HamburgerSasu there. HamburgerSasu now here on the front, knocking. Well, he's already busted down the door. I wanted to say knocking on the door, but he's busted that door down with a battering ram, and JH is pretty much dead at this point. And JH knows, because JH taps out. HamburgerSasu wins the game quite convincingly. It did take him 21 minutes and 21 seconds to set up and win the game, but most of the time when you're playing Zerg, that's just how much time it takes against a good Protoss. And don't get me wrong, JH is a good Protoss player. He is a very good Protoss player. He has a very good Protoss versus Zerg. But HamburgerSasu just made him look like a bitch. He made him look like a bitch. And that's not easy. It takes a lot of very precise micro, very quick reactions, not a single mistake. Because don't forget, a lot of JH's drops did reach destination, but the storms were beautifully dodged or the Templars were sniped really quickly. And that little detail of dodging drops just in time, making sure your drones stay alive, or making sure that the Templars cannot get their storms off by target firing them the moment they unload. That alone can make such a huge difference. It can be the difference in losing or winning a game. And HamburgerSasu did exactly what he had to do. And he did all of it mostly with just Hydralisks. He doesn't have a lot of spores, he doesn't have a lot of sunkens, doesn't have a lot of lurkers. He does have some lurkers, but his reaction time, his mechanical play, was all that he needed. Eventually, of course, Guardians do break down the sides, break down the door, and once he's inside, the house just explodes, and Voss topples over, and does not call the GG. So yeah, well played by HamburgerSasu. Well played by both players, actually. I'm just surprised that I didn't think that JH could look so outclassed as he did in these last two games. He looked really outclassed. And that's not easy to do. Because do keep in mind that JH is a multiple time 1 vs 1 Starcraft World Season winner. And he is known to pretty much defeat everyone. Everyone. He's considered to be the best active player in Starcraft World. And he got outclassed really hard. Which just goes to the testament of how good HamburgerSasu really is. So thanks for watching. A lot of rambling at the end. I hope you don't mind that all too much. I just like to go on a rambling spree at the end, because ending a video is really hard. Because it feels really awkward to just say, alright, video's over.